Hello, it's Dawn Michelle and welcome back to my channel. Today I am excited to share with you the Ritual Tarot, which is this really awesome 100% hand-done collage, like old school collage tarot deck. So in full disclosure, this deck was sent to me by the creator for review and I'm super excited to share it with you today. It came in this beautiful velvet bag and we have this gorgeous little wrapped offering with the guidebook and the little stamp, just, you know, the attention to detail. I've been trying to keep some of these seals intact so I can use them in some journals. So inside was a lovely little note from the creator. I have seen this deck on a couple of different people's channels, and it is so funny because it was on my list of decks to kind of check out and look at a little bit deeper, more in depth to see if it's something that would resonate with my practice. And then the creator reached out to me, so it was like this total serendipitous thing that it all happened at the same time. Let's go ahead and just jump into the deck because like I can't hardly wait to see the cards like up close and in person, and then we definitely will take a look at the guidebook. So a couple of notes about this deck before we get into look at it. As I mentioned in the beginning, the deck is 100% analog collage, like cut and paste. There was nothing was digitally rendered in this deck, which I think is really, really cool. We don't see that often anymore. And for the longest time, I didn't really care for a lot of collage style decks, but I've recently come around to that. And I think that's because the sort of collage style decks I was thinking of had a different energy, a different feel than a deck like this. So I'm real excited to have that. One of the things that the creator does mention about this deck is that the structure and symbolism does follow both the RWS and the Thoth Tarot, but there are no titles or numbers because the creator felt that adding these elements would interfere with the integrity of the imagery. Their intention was to encourage people to use this deck to create their own meanings and to really form an intuitive relationship with the cards, which I think is really, really wonderful. Also want to mention that this deck is 100% eco-friendly and were printed by a 100% ecological company based in Italy that specializes in manufacturing custom playing cards. The facility is like entirely solar powered, and they use only premium quality recyclable papers, food grade inks, and all of that kind of stuff. So that is really cool. I think that just adds a whole another level of intention and thought into this deck. So here we have a title card, which I always appreciate because for one, it's beautiful and I do keep them. And two, I use them for testers for edging because, oh man, you can believe, check out that back. I really, really love the backs. This deck is gonna get edged. Okay, let's go ahead and jump into the cards. So again, as I just mentioned, there are no titles or numbers on this first edition. I do also have a note from the creator saying that they are going to be launching a Kickstarter campaign to fund the titled edition of the deck with an expanded and revised guidebook. There'll be a release date on that listed later, and I'll definitely leave a link for you in the description box below so you can find out more. I love this beautiful, really intuitive collage style art. There's a lot going on, and I think that it's so beautiful. I feel like this is a deck that I could use for a lot of my spiritual work as well, which I think, you know, given the name Ritual Tarot, it feels very in alignment with that. That's our High Priestess, right? Our Empress. And one of the things that I'm kind of curious to see is, can I see the tarot association in here? Like I'm definitely with all the rams and the emperor-headed ram here, like I'm definitely getting emperor vibes. Beautiful Hierophant card. This Lovers is gorgeous. I love what has been chosen in terms of the imagery, but again, it definitely lets me see what the tarot association is kind of layered underneath that. So I think that's really, really cool. So this must be our Chariot. We do have, looks like some astrological correspondences as well. Strength or Justice, I'm not sure which, because it depends on which system you're looking at. We'll have to kind of look and see what we think. So card number 9, that would be our Hermit. Our Wheel, I love that. That is feeling very much like Justice to me. So I'm thinking that this is our Strength card. These are so beautiful. The cardstock is actually really, really lovely. Like, it feels gorgeous in the hands. We'll talk a little bit more about that here in a minute. Hanged Man. I think that's beautiful. We're gonna test my ability to remember the numbers. 12, 13, so death. Really cool. 14, temperance. Definitely getting temperance vibes out of that. 15, so the devil. I love that, it's gorgeous. 16, tower, definitely getting tower energy. So 17, the star, beautiful. The moon, I love this Venus statue down here, that's gorgeous. The sun, oh, that's super cool, I love that. There's so much you can dive into. So judgment, got the Egyptian nod here, that's really cool. And then the world, I'm guessing. I did peek. There are references in the guidebook. So if you like really, really need to know what the Tarot Association is, it's in there. So I'm guessing this is Wands. So Ace of Wands. I probably should have looked rather than just guess, but 2. I love that. And I do like that the creator has added the number of elements, because the fact that we don't have titles means that yes, I can work with this deck very intuitively, but if I want to make sure that I'm pulling in that 3 of Wands energy, I can see that, I can get that out of the card. So I think that's really cool. Our 4, 5, this feels very thothy. Our 6, beautiful. 7, I feel like this is a deck that you really do need to take your time with. I'm flipping through it fairly fast just so we can see it all, and I do want to play with it, but I do feel like this is a deck that you would need to take some time with, or to get the most benefit out of, could take some time with. So 8, our 9, 10, I'm gonna assume page, knight, I love it. Oh, beautiful queen. And our king. I love those together. Look at that. That is stunning. Okay, so our Ace of Cups. Our 2. That's beautiful. I love all the statues, all the tie-ins to our ancient history. I think that's really cool. 4. This is an awesome 5 of Cups. It's so creative, it's so intuitive. Oh, beautiful 6. Like, and the colors are just phenomenal. 7, it's our 8. I can count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep, so you could count, although you can use the book too. 9, gorgeous. 10. So here's our page. We'll have to look in the guidebook to see what the actual chord progression is. I'm just gonna use the basics for now. So here's our Knight of Cups. Our Queen, oh, she's lovely. Our King. Ace of Swords, that's quite powerful. It's our 2. Interesting. We have like the sort of single eye. The third eye is what's being kind of drawing our attention in this. That's really cool. Our 3. I love that it's open. You can do the heartbreak if you want, but it doesn't necessarily lock me into that. So I really, really like that. So our 4, our 5, 6, our 7, our 8, 9. I love the colors in this deck. This 10, oh my goodness, look at that. That is amazing. Page, Knight, love that we have horses in all the knights as far as I was able to tell. Queen, very Queen of Swords looking, I love it. Oops. And our King, that's fantastic. There's our Ace, which, oh my gosh, is beautiful. I love that. Pentacles are my favorite, so you know, I gotta like the pentacle suit. Beautiful 2. Oh, that's gorgeous for the 3. I love all the Egyptian references. It's so cool. The 4. The 5. Gorgeous 6 with the door. I love that. Oh, beautiful 7, a little bit pippy. I like it. Our 8. Our 9. Oh, that's beautiful. Check out the 10. I love that. It's gorgeous colors. So Page, Knight, Queen of Pentacles. She's awesome. I really like her. And the King. I really like that King of Pentacles too. That's super cool. I really, really like what I'm seeing in this deck. Real quick, let's jump into the guidebook. And then I want to play with it. So we have beautiful little full color guidebook actually. A little bit about the deck, some working with it. So in the majors, we have the big full-size color. In the minors, they are a little bit smaller, but you can still see the images, so you can line them up if you want. We have which key it is, a couple of keywords, a little bit about the card, a reverse meaning, some opposing cards, and some reinforcing cards, which is really cool. We have that for all of the majors. So when we go into the minor arcana, we do have a list of all of the cards, and we just have mostly keywords for the numbered minor, which I think is fine. So each of the courts, which is really cool in this deck, they kind of all have their own names. So like the Page of Wands is the Priestess of Fire. The Knight of Wands is the Blazing Prince. The Queen of Wands is the Lady of the Flame, and the King of Wands is the Lord of the Flame. You can see here that we do have pictures for each of them. So if you want to like compare and make sure that you're seeing the right tarot association in there, you have that in here as well so that you can make those correspondences. We also have a little bit about the suits in terms of the element, season, astrological sign, moon phases, and essence, which is really cool. But see, when we go into the courts for the cups, we have for the Page, we have the water nymph, the Knight is the hopeless romantic, the Queen is the siren of the deep waters, and the King is the father of diplomacy. So really cool. I like that there's individual title names for the court cards as well. And I really appreciate that there is this visual index so that we can take a look at each of the cards and look up which one we think it is. So I really do appreciate it about it. That's a great little guidebook. Like that's all you really need. And I think that works beautifully. This deck is actually oracle size. Let's pull out the Urban Crow because that is an oracle deck I have on my table. And you can see that they are exactly the same size. So it's quite large for a tarot because we have 78 cards at a bigger size, closer to an oracle size. But I think with a deck like this, you almost need it to be bigger because there's so much going on in the artwork that if it was any smaller, it would be a real struggle to be able to see all the detail of what's going on, and then you would miss things. And I think that's really important. This cardstock though is like, I don't know. It's really cool. I'm trying to think if I have another deck that even feels like this in the hand. It's very smooth. It's almost like silky, and it like, I mean, it slides beautifully. We'll see if it's gonna get away from me because sometimes larger decks on slippery cardstock do get away from me. It's quite thick though. It's quite a thick card. So it's, as you can see, it's quite the chunky monkey, but I feel like you kind of need that with a deck like this. I'm not gonna try to shuffle it long ways because I say that, maybe I can. I think that's gonna be a bit of a stretch for my hands. Yeah, and I don't wanna kind of mangle my cards. So with a deck like this, I usually tend to, if I riffle at all, which sometimes once I get a good kind of riffle going, it kind of side shuffles. I will tend to just overhand it once I feel like I've got a good mix going. So let's try the kind of half and half, just because I'd like to get a good mix to get us started. And I definitely can, if I just break it down into smaller chunks, I definitely can get a riffle out of it. I'm not gonna bridge it because I don't wanna actually like bend any of the cards. So I'm just doing a very easy, light riffle. And of course, it's gonna overhand, I think, yeah, beautifully because it's nice and smooth. Like, it's not slippery, it's smooth. And there is a difference. As you can see, it's not flying out of my hands, but it is really, really smooth, and the cards are sliding against each other really, really well. Okay, So let's see what we've got. Queen of Swords, Two of Wands, Three of Wands, Ace of Swords, Hanged Man. Ooh, Knight of Pentacles, Two of Cups, Nine of Pentacles. It's super readable. I'm really pleasantly surprised. The Star, that actually, because there's a moon in it, that one kind of confused me and I had to look it up in the book, but I'm pretty sure that one is the Star. So let's just look while we're here and let's see what the Star has to say. Yes, see, that one is the Star. So we'll just do the big one because it's easier to see. So it's hope, new beginnings, inspiration, motivation, serenity, insight, resurrection, dreams, spiritual healing, contentment, and having faith in the universe. The Star represents a renewed sense of hope and faith. The seeker has experienced a tumultuous downfall, but has reemerged a truer and more powerful version of themselves. This card could indicate a time of repose after a period of chaos, a time of healing after the pain of rebirth. The woman depicted in the center of the card is naked and curled into a fetal position. She is half awake, the open eyes signifying the conscious mind, half dreaming, the closed eyes signifying the unconscious mind. Her nakedness emphasizes her purity and vulnerability. And then there's a quote. It says, "To be naked is to be oneself. To be naked is to be without disguise," by John Berger. It says, Key 17 symbolizes the gentle stripping away of all that is unnecessary and returning back to one's true self. The moth represents the sequential bridge between Key 16, the silhouette of the tower, and Key 18, the full moon. The symbol of the moth denotes transformation, hidden knowledge, and is often associated with the feminine energy of the moon. The Star reversed could indicate feelings of hopelessness, melancholia, or a lack of inspiration. It could signify a creative block or a period of depression. Energy levels may be depleted. The seeker should take time for rest and self-care. I really like the write-ups in here, the interpretations. They're really quite wonderful. I fully intend to actually read them all as I work through this deck because I think that there's a lot of really good information in this guidebook. So yeah, I'm real excited to work with it. I'm glad that all the cards are very recognizable. I will admit that I kind of worried about that when I saw this deck here and there across TarotTube and in pictures and things like that. It was like, would I know because there's no titles? But I actually love the fact that there's no titles. I do this intentionally to a lot of my decks anyway, right? I take off borders and titles all the time. Like my favorite deck that sits in this precious little box right here, I've taken down to be completely borderless and titleless. So I think it's really cool for a creator to actually create a deck intentionally that way, right? Rather than us taking the cards and cutting them all down and, you know, removing all of that excess so that we can get to the heart of the artwork, the heart of and the essence of the deck. The creator has already done that. I think it's really cool that they have a deck coming out with the titles on it as well, but I really actually like it without the titles on it. I think that it really allows the artwork to speak, to be very vocal, to really show us what it's trying to express through all the different symbols and imagery and things on the card. And there's so much that you can dive into in a deck like this. Clearly, I'm excited about this one. I really want to do some work with this deck, so I thought we would do it together. I would just want to kind of get a little bit more familiar with it. And I do want to see how it would work with some of my tarot decks as well, or maybe some of my oracles, because it is a tarot. I feel like this deck could go either way though. It's like you could use it completely as an intuitive reader, or you can pull in those tarot associations. So I kind of want to play with it with both. I think it would make really cool altar cards as well. Like there's just something about this artwork that is just really evocative. Okay, let's see what we can do with it. Let's have a little bit of a play. So I feel like this is a deck that if I were to pull Oracle in to work with it, I would want very minimal artwork in the Oracle deck because I feel like there's so much life and energy happening in these cards that I wouldn't want to compete with it. So I've pulled out my Master Teacher Crystal Oracle because I thought that might bring a good kind of additional layer to working with this deck. And while it's not collage, it is just a single crystal image. So again, very, very simple. I feel like that's going to really help create another layer to working with this particular card. So I've got that on hand in case we want to pull that in. You know, I'm curious if I pull something like the Tantric Dakini with it, if that's going to compete or maybe work really well. I think it's going to depend. That actually might be a really interesting pairing. So I'm going to pull this one out as well. We're just going to kind of have a little play because I want to spend some time just kind of getting to know this deck. So let's do, I keep trying to split it. I don't want to split it. Let's do a reading together. I have another little interesting thing that I'm thinking about. It's forming in the back of my mind here. We'll have to see. What I think. Okay, let's do a reading. So a lot of times when I'm working with a deck like this, where I feel like it's going to tap into something a little bit more sacred, I don't necessarily like to use card positions or spread positions. What I like to do is kind of just pull cards as I feel intuitively drawn to. So what I'm going to do is just split the deck and we're going to draw a card and we're going to start with that one card and go from there. And we're going to kind of build this almost like ritualistic reading in a very intuitive and organic way, which I think will work really, really well with this deck. So let's see what we have. We have the Three of Swords. Makes me giggle because if you've watched my channel for any amount of time, you know I often struggle with that Three of Swords and its depictions. I don't want to put that too far out of the way because I feel like we might pull more cards in. But it's always so funny when it comes up. It's like when the Queen of Pentacles comes up, like one of my first draws, I'm like, oh, the card is saying we're going to be good. We're going to work together. This particular card, being that my personal relationship with the Three of Swords, tells me that this deck is going to offer me the opportunity to look at things in a different way. And I love when we can pull like a single card and get this really robust message out of just one card, right? I could stop there, but we're not gonna, because where's the fun in that? Okay, so Three of Swords. Let's just, while we're here, let's go ahead and jump into the guidebook because the minor arcana is just a few keywords. So let's see what the keywords are. The Three of Swords, we have heartbreak, loss, sorrow, loneliness, and betrayal. So really Rider-Waite-Smith there. That's not how I read the Three of Swords. Three to me is a number of growth, and swords are the suit of the mind. So I see that as growth that comes from what we've learned. And so that's how I'm going to kind of approach it. I think what I'm going to do, I think we're going to pull a Tantric Dakini. And I do have a couple of other decks here that I want to maybe try something with. We're just going to give the Tantric Dakini a little shuffle. I have not worked with this deck much, so it's fairly new to my collection. So I'm feeling like we have the Three of Swords energy. So I'm feeling like let's pull some cards around it to see what that Three of Swords energy has for me. So we have purification. I like that. And recall memory. That's pretty cool. I love that. That Three of Swords is telling me maybe look at things from a different perspective, but always pull in your foundational knowledge because that is important. So that Three of Swords, I love that. I'm going to pull a card from the Master Teacher now. And let's see what it has to share with us. So we have emotional cleansing. That's interesting considering this is traditionally like the heartbreak card, right? And I know I don't read it that way, but emotional cleansing. So we're going to look at things from a new perspective. We're gonna always honor the traditions and the base knowledge, but we're going to make space for things to unfold. So let's pull another ritual tarot, because I feel like we can expand more on this emotional cleansing here in this Three of Swords energy. So the Nine of Wands, that's quite interesting. That card's been coming up a lot for me lately. And is this the Page of Pentacles? I think it is. Let's just pop into the guidebook just so we can be sure. Not that it really matters because we can read it intuitively. I'm getting Page of Pentacles energy from that. And I would be correct. Page of Pentacles, Nine of Wands. So also just looking at it intuitively, you know, I can look at this and go, what is this making me feel? I see there's a lot of heads. You see a head here, a floating head, a floating head. The head here is different. We even have the head here. But in the Ritual Tarot, I'm really being drawn to the head space. There's also quite a few things in the third eye space. So that's really interesting because that's kind of telling me that maybe that's where some focus needs to be. This one has like almost a building over her head and it feels very weighty. It feels like there's a lot going on here. It's feeling like it's weighing pretty heavily. And I get that sense over both of these cards, as well as this one too, because there's a lot going on top of the heads. There's a lot of things going on in the mind right now. And this is very, very appropriate for me. And, you know, I can say to my heart's content that we're going to do a practice reading here, a sample reading, and it never works out that way. So I've given up on that because the cards just like to do what they're going to do. We're getting this idea of kind of, there's some purification that needs to happen. There's some emotional cleansing. Like we've got that energy very, very strongly. A lot of heart and mind coming through that I'm seeing with this particular pairing here. So now I'm curious if I just pull something totally different. I've got my Sacred Rebels Oracle here, which is a deck that I've fairly new to my collection, but I've been using a lot lately. And I'm just gonna go ahead and give it a little shuffle. And then let's see what we can build around this. Like I've got this feeling with this reading, this weightiness that is coming out with this reading. And I wanna see what I can do about it. What is already within you? I've pulled that card multiple times. It keeps coming up for me. So what is already within me? This is already within me, right? I need to acknowledge that. And then let's get a takeaway message for this. We have be the hunter, not the hunted. Interesting. And I could definitely get into the Sacred Rebels Guidebook and learn more, but I don't want to focus too much on all these other decks, although I do like when I can build a reading in this way. And I think these actually all work really well together. I've got a lot of different things going on. We've got some digital collage. We've got some hand collage. We've got some digital art type of stuff. We've got some almost photorealistic art going on. And I've got all of these different energies and all of these different aspects on the table together. And I feel like they actually do work really, really well. So just for fun here, I've split the Ritual Tarot down in half and I've got the Tantric Tatini. And I thought we would just do a little card pairing because I do kind of feel like these decks go together really well. I wasn't sure when I pulled it out because they are kind of the same kind of collage style. I feel like if the Tantric Tatini didn't have the white borders, and here's a case for borders, if it didn't have the borders, I feel like it would kind of blend in and not necessarily in a good way, kind of just mushy blend in with the Ritual Tarot. But in this sense with those white borders, I feel like it does create space that allows the Ritual Tarot to be really front and center, to be the anchor of this. And then I'm using the Oracle to actually expand around it, which is the opposite of what I normally do. Normally I have that Oracle in the center and I've got the Tarot around it. But this time I feel like the Tarot, the Ritual Tarot is where all the energy is. It's where all the weight is. And so I want to use the Oracle deck to just kind of give me a little bit more to expand upon that message. Like not a lot. I'm not looking to really transform this message here. I just wanted to kind of give me some keywords, some different imagery to kind of tap into as well. So I think that's going to be really cool. The Scarlet Woman, the deep end, right? There's a lot I could dive into with these. I feel like they do actually work together quite well. And I feel like the messages, the images are, both of them are interesting decks. They look at things a little bit differently. They have a little bit different energy. And I feel like that is what makes them work really, really well together. I did kind of pull out my, some of my Oracle decks by the same creator of the Lioness Oracle, and those just really didn't work for me. I think that they kind of competed a little too much, whereas these feel like they support each other, and that's really cool. I like that. Blow your mind, the Pillar of Fire, the Nine of Pentacles. Like, I think that's really cool. So we'll just flip through a couple because I really was curious to see how they would feel together, right? It's about looks too. How do they look together, right? They look beautiful. These are both beautiful decks, but it's more about how do they feel? Do the messages make sense? Do they feel cohesive? Do I feel like I could get something out of this? And I really, really do. I think that this is a beautiful little pairing that I feel like can have some depth and layer to it. Look at this mean and heavy and death transfiguration with that Nine of Wands energy. That's really quite cool. We'll just do a couple more. I love this, Totally Bananas. I love that card. Yeah, interesting little pairing. Okay, we'll just do one more. There's that Ace of Cups, Abundance, and Chameleon. I love that. We've even got a cup over here. So I've pulled out the Heaven and Earth Tarot. I've just been going through and I've just flipped my cards around all different ways. I was standing there looking at different decks and trying to think like, what feels like it would work with this particular deck? And it does. I feel like there's lots of oracles that I could pair with it, but I wasn't entirely sure about a tarot deck because it feels like because it has that tarot energy, and they don't often pair tarot and tarot together. But I think it could work, and I'm just kind of curious to see how it might work. I'm just going to kind of half all these and put them all together. I went with the Heaven and Earth because it has a very muted color palette, and I didn't want it to compete with what was going on in the Ritual Tarot. So now I'm going to look at the Ritual Tarot as more of an intuitive oracle, and then I'm going to pull the tarot around it. So we have this beautiful kind of stacked, almost supportive, mothering kind of energy, and it's between the Queen of Cups and the Hierophant. That's quite interesting. So I want to just kind of flip through these together just to kind of see how this might feel working with it strictly intuitively and letting another tarot deck pull in those tarot associations rather than the Ritual Tarot itself. So I thought that might be an interesting way to work with it. There are probably decks that would be a better choice in terms of aesthetics, but I wanted something pretty neutral. I wanted something that also pulled in that sort of spiritual bent to it as well. So the Heaven and Earth was kind of what I landed on for just like a quick tarot to pull from. And I do feel like it kind of works together. The energies feel a little bit cohesive just because the Heaven and Earth does kind of blend that sort of as above, so below kind of energy, but in a almost biblical way in a sense. That's a terrible word to use, and I'm trying to think of something different, but it's in more of a traditional sense. Let's go with that. Whereas the Ritual Tarot, because it has so many of these really wonderful statues and pulling in so much history and all the different cultural references, I felt like that added that really beautiful layer to it. And I could kind of pull in that spiritual energy, pull it a little bit more through and kind of down into the mundane world with the Heaven and Earth. So it's an interesting pairing. Sometimes it's fun to just put decks together like this and see how they speak to each other. What do they bring out in each other? Because this to me has a totally different energy than when I was working with it with the Tantric Dakini. This feels almost quieter. It's like the Ritual Tarot is speaking almost in whispers now. And that's not to mean that the messages are less important. It's just a more reflective kind of energy. And I'm betting if I paired it with something that was really bright and vibrant and vivid, that it would have a totally different energy as well. That's really cool. So yeah, sometimes pairing your decks with other decks can help bring out different energies, can help bring out different voices in a sense, and really encourage you to look at a deck that maybe you've used in the same way all the time, or a deck that you've kind of pigeonholed into a certain type of use. It really gives you the opportunity to kind of look at it from a different perspective, which I really, really like. So the Ritual Tarot, I have to say, I am extremely pleased to have this in my collection, to be able to work with it. I definitely want to send many thanks and much love to the deck creator, because this is a work of art. Every card is a work of art, and it is saying something to be able to create 78 works of art that each convey not only a tarot meaning, but an intuitive language as well. And I just think that that is such a feat, and I'm really excited to see decks like this come around and be available. I love being able to share them because I think they're an important part of our tarot collective, and it brings a different kind of energy. I love my mass market decks. I love my, Rider-Waite Smith clones, my Thoth clones, all of those. I love the decks with all the different themes and all the different energies. But I also really love decks like this that do something a little bit different, that have a different kind of energy, that have a different level of awareness to it. I could probably pull out an RWS and a Thoth and put them side by side with each of the cards, and I could see those elements reflected in there. And I feel like this is kind of a beautiful collaboration of all of the different energies coming together and mingling into one card. And that's one of the things that I've really learned to appreciate about collage decks over the years, is that these are unique works of art in themselves. I feel like you could take any of these cards and you could, explore them as just a beautiful work of art, even if you're not looking at the tarot associations. But then to layer that in there is just really powerful. It's really magical. This deck almost feels like it is alive with ancestral energy. It feels very much in that space too, like there is that collective memory from all of humankind just coming across a deck like this. And it's one of the things that I really like about decks such as these, is it does feel like it's ingrained with all of that, and pulling it all together into this one, contained, cohesive body of work that I can use in many different ways in my practice. I can use it as altar cards. I could use it as ritual cards. I could use it as a tarot deck. I can use it as an oracle deck. I could use it for journaling, to pull one of these cards and just journal about all the things that are on the image and what they make me feel, how they speak to me. It's just beautiful. So yeah, I'm real excited. In case you can't tell, I'm real excited to work with this one. I think it's an absolutely gorgeous deck. It's a gorgeous production value, and I think the creator has done a phenomenal job. So I hope you've enjoyed this look at the Ritual Tarot. As always, I'll have links for everything I've shown here in the description box below. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, and I look forward to sharing with you again soon.